I do what I believe is the upper echelon of fighting, where as soon as I disagree, I shut down completely and don't talk to her for 24 hours.
That's so funny.
Nobody gets hurt. Yeah. Everybody cools off. What's up, lifers, and welcome to the Daily Standup with Lifetime Value, where we're giving you fresh new customer success ideas every single day. I got my man Rob with us. Rob, do you want to say hi?
Rob Zambito, University of Pennsylvania.
And wow, he had to. Gross. And we have JP with us. JP, do you want to say hi?
JP, Law and Order SVU.
And I am your host. My name is Dylan Young. It's just the three of us boys. Rob, it had been a while since we were reminded of your pedigree, so thank you.
It's not pedigree. That. Nobody knows what Penn is.
Oh my God, you in a dog show, Rob?
Yeah. Yeah. God. Oh, goodness. Hey, Rob, you came to the table with a topic today, didn't you?
I did. It's fresh on my mind. I've spent several hours this week in trainings on objection rebuttal documentation, objection rebuttal handling. Have you guys ever done that before?
Mm-hmm. Rebutted objections?
Mm-hmm.
Have you practiced it with your team, and have you built documentation around it with your team?
A little bit in the past, like a sprinkle. Go ahead and tell us what it's all about. Go on.
I did a tour of duty in sales. I know what we're doing here.
Mm-hmm.
But go ahead.
But see, that's a good point in sales, right? Which
I don't think the idea of rebutting objections changes much between the two. It's certainly the flavor of it, sure, and the depth of your relationship, but I don't think it changes much. Prove me wrong. Go ahead, dude.
Yeah. Well, so
it's not rebuttals.
I'm gonna start saying that when people agree with me too fast. Can't believe it's not rebuttals.
So I want to share a little bit about what this is and why it's important, and also share a real example, because I just had a client ask me, "Do you want to help me write an email to a customer who's canceling?" And I said to myself, "This seems like a good opportunity to do some objection rebuttal handling." So the thing is, look, we're all surrounded.
Go ahead.
We're all surrounded with objections all the time. And we are all like, those objections come up not just in sales, but I often ask CS teams, "Do you have an objection rebuttal doc?" And they said, "Yeah, I think our sales team uses that." And I'm like, yeah, but don't objections also come up in onboarding? Don't they also come up in renewals? Don't they also come up in upsells or whatever? And a lot of us are just like painfully underprepared. We either don't have the collateral, don't have the documentation, or don't have it memorized, don't have it rehearsed. And, next thing you know, we're in a meeting and we're maybe like winging it, or we're just like dusting off some document that in our Google Drives that we haven't looked at in 7-8 months, trying to cobble our way through a difficult situation. So, one thing about me that you should know is that I like frameworks. and the one that I want to talk through surprising. Here. So we've talked about, if I recall correctly, we've talked about the feel, felt, found framework, and I've got some examples we can try it on. So if for those listeners who haven't tuned in, feel, felt, found is a simple 3-step method to handle an objection. It's
Rob, let me just tell you.
Yeah.
If this is the first time a listener has listened to this podcast, they're already gone, brother. And they blacklisted us. All right. So this is for the diehard. You can imagine they know every framework you've got. Okay.
This is for people having arguments with their spouses. There we go. Broaden the audience. So feel, felt, found method is basically when you hear someone say something that you object to, you disagree with, and every bone in your body wants to tell them they're wrong. It's a strategy to express that you actually feel where they're coming from, and you've felt this way before. You've dealt with people who have felt this way before. That's the felt part. And then you transition into what you've found. So it allows you to be more of a strategic advisor to your clients. So I have an example I can share that I did.
I thought we were still holding on to the marriage analogy, and I'm like, I don't know if this works in an argument with you. Especially you, Rob. You have a doctor of psychology, right?
Yeah.
For a wife.
She's fantastic.
I feel like she sees right through this every time.
Well, the problem is she's just always right, and she's just kind of...
So you never have a chance to use this.
I don't need to, because she's a master of persuading me.
You married.
Yeah. We do. So I do what I believe is the upper echelon of fighting, where as soon as I disagree, I shut down completely and don't talk to her for 24 hours.
That's so funny.
Nobody gets hurt.
Yeah,
Everybody cools
yeah.
off. Anyway, Rob, keep going.
Yeah, go ahead. Rob.
So I want you to tear this up because look, when I say feel, felt, found, whenever I say framework, it often stands the risk of being too formulaic. So this came up. This is a real text that was exchanged between me and a prospective client who I used to work with at a different company earlier this morning.
It's his wife.
Who? No, it's not my wife. So the objection I got from this prospective client was he wants to work together, but he said, I'm just too focused on overhauling another business area right now. I have to not piss off too many other people. So I had to think, like, I could just let this slide and, revisit it later. But this conversation has been ongoing for like 3 months. So if I want to elegantly handle this objection, like the formulaic way to do it is like, yeah, I totally get it. Been there before. I've dealt with people who have felt that way before. What I found is that now is a good time to, engage in these initiatives. But what I actually said was, I get it, limited political capital. We've both seen that movie before, haha. Maybe that actually could be ideal timing. I don't know. I tend to see change management usually comes best as a multi-part package as opposed to separate initiatives. And I pulled a JP here and I said, it's like the prefix menu or pre-fee menu, however you're supposed to say it, instead of a la carte. And I'm waiting to see how this gets responded to. But
I thought you knew.
No, so what he did was my strategy where he shut down completely. And he'll come back to you once this topic is no longer on the table.
It was an hour ago. Come on.
Oh, okay.
Well, okay. I'm going to jump in. I'm going to say, I think that, two things came to mind when we talk about like the objection handling. One of them is how much room do I have to work with? I feel like when a lot of times in CS, we're sort of told we get some guidelines. I'm usually not given a directive like how much I really have to work with. And so if anything, I end up maybe partnering with sales to sort of figure that out. And then they're going to come in because that negotiating bone is stronger in them. They're going to and I think a company may be thinking like, okay, maybe this is more worth it, especially with maybe some of the higher deals. But I do think that it's important to figure out, okay, what exactly is the person objecting to? Because I may give you an objection that's really not the true objection. It's just me sort of giving something so I can just take like the easy way out. I feel like a lot of times in business, it's really I feel like it's rare for people to really just give you like a straight up truth, like up in front. It's usually, sort of wrapped in really nice language and going all over the place. I saw a response one time from somebody where they said they were churning and they said all this stuff. And I saw pricing last and I was like, that's it. Like, it's the pricing. They said all this other stuff. But to me, I could look and based on the context, I was like, well, it's really the pricing. And that person might have wanted to avoid really saying that it was pricing because if they did, then they're like, okay, well, maybe I am going to, sort of rebut that objection and sort of get into something. So I think that sometimes people they're sort of playing chess right back, and they're trying to sort of get along with their day. And I do try to like empathize with customers as much as I can in the sense of I never want to think that like I am the product in their tech stack, right? Like I never want to think like I am not your Netflix. That could be on a t-shirt. I am not your Netflix, right? But like, how am I going to prove and show value? And I think that there's, so I'm just sort of speaking to why I maybe think the objection handling isn't as prevalent, but I do think that it comes up just in like different contexts. I've seen it come up in different contexts in terms of like, maybe somebody is wondering about a certain feature or maybe why a certain feature is in this tier versus that tier. And that becomes more of a persuasive like value conversation where they are objecting to the value being provided. And so we're having more of that as opposed to more of a strictly churn conversation and it's, sort of pricing or different things. So
I'm interested to hear, Rob, at what point do you back off? Like, what is the magic word? Is there like a secret code word that a prospect has to say to you that you say, okay, yeah, I now believe in their decision? Or like, how do you think about that? Because I love the idea of turn yourself into a trusted advisor by standing beside them and trying to look at and like solve their problems alongside them. But at what point do they say, hey, I appreciate you standing here, but I do really believe that I do not need this service or this product right now? What's the, maybe you can't share this because you do have to do BD on a regular basis and you don't want your prospects to hear this and know what your kryptonite is. But I just, maybe how do we think about that?
Secret code word is banana.
Oh,
It's hippopotamus.
I know what that's
for
a
me.
reference to. I know what that's reference.
I don't even know what that's a
Mine
reference
is pineapple.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
Anyway,
Pineapple upside down cake.
look, I actually don't have an answer to this, and I'm not trying to keep my cards close to the vest or anything, but I think reading the room is one of the last human skills that we're going to have in this age of AI and whatever else. Like reading the room.
On email though? Sorry, Rob, but on email,
sure.
it's a little more difficult to read the room on email, right?
It is definitely more difficult. But
so sometimes you got to get on a call with someone.
Yeah.
Which is why I think some of that magic happens when you get on a call with someone. That
I love
is
that you
one of the
answered
things
your
I've
own
learned.
question by saying like, yeah, no, it's got to be in person.
Yeah. Well, it's even more difficult via email, but I like to give people an out. I like to tell people I like to preface by saying look, I don't want to be a pain. I'm not that's not a good use of your time or mine, which implicitly implies both our time is valuable. And then saying look, if this isn't a good fit, please feel free just to shoot me straight. I love direct feedback. That usually gives really good permission for people to, enter feedback mode. And it doesn't always work, but nothing does.
Pineapple.
I think your answer is a good explanation of the way in which you should treat these conversations, which is less of a zero-sum game and more of the building of a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And how do you continue to move the ball forward without burning bridges or alienating people? And maybe your timeline doubles or triples in length if they're not amenable to what you're offering today. But the last thing you want to do is tell them to F off. And if you don't want this, then you're an idiot. You want to always try to preserve the future of that relationship.
I think you just gave me an idea. I might try this. I might send a multiple choice to a customer to make it as easy as possible. It's look, you're probably in one of these states. Either A, pricing's off, B, timing is wrong, C, you don't like me, or something like that. Even throw in a joke. Who knows? Who cares? And then just have them there's a little humor in that. It makes it easier for them to process and just be direct with you. Or even say, I think you're probably in A. Is that right? Yes or no? Something like that. I don't know.
And you can build that back into the framework, right? What I've felt this before, and it's been one of these three things.
Mm-hmm.
What is it for you? Maybe we can find a way through it or something like that. Yeah. Boys.
Dealing with the framework.
That is our time. Great top. Well, I don't know if it was great. Jury's out. We'll see. When I edit this, I'll let you know. I'll write it in the show notes what I actually thought about it.
Hanging in a Jordan.
No, love you both. Thank you so much. Come back soon. Bye-bye.
See you guys.
You've been listening to the Daily Standup by Lifetime Value. Please note that the views expressed in these conversations are attributed only to those individuals on this recording and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of their respective employers. For all inquiries, please reach out via email to dylan@lifetimevaluemedia.com. Find us on YouTube at Lifetime Value and find us on the socials at Lifetime Value Media. Until next time.